Hi, I'm Anthony Henry. Welcome back to America's Ass. We're on episode 32. It was cold today, as always. The snow's getting rougher and rougher, snowing more. So I hope you like skiing or something. So it's winter. We're in the dead of it. So anyway, we're here with Representative Tim McGough from Merrimack. So please take a minute to introduce yourself.
Hey, thanks, Anthony. Thanks for having me on. It's nice to see everybody. I'm Tim McGough from Merrimack, the town of Merrimack, Hillsborough County, District 12. And it's my first time on, so pretty happy to be here and chit-chat about whatever's on your mind.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. So I know some people were upset we didn't talk about it last episode, so we'll talk about it today. The presidential primary, in some circles, controversial first-in-the-nation presidential primary. Obviously, the Secretary of State does not care what the DNC thinks. I don't think anyone cares what they think anymore. So we did it. We did it for the Republicans and the Democrats for the first-in-the-nation primary. And as I said last episode, wasn't exactly shocking results. The two people we thought would win won, Trump and Biden. My opinion, as for the Democratic side, it was really interesting to see how many votes Dean Phillips got. Marianne Williamson got a few. Trump and Haley on the Republican side, it was somewhat close, as people thought it would. Haley is definitely the second place at this point. I think that's obviously indisputable now that DeSantis dropped out. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think people thought it was going to be a little closer on the Republican side, at least as it got down towards the end.
Yeah.
It looked like Haley was surging and that she might even come in within single digits. But really, the people spoke. I mean, people want to see a strong leader who the world takes seriously, who is loved by his friends and feared by his enemies. Look what's going on all over the world right now. And I think that's what we saw. We saw a lot of undeclared voters cross over or pick a ballot that they might not normally pick and, get involved. And I'm just thrilled to see such a fantastic turnout, right? Anytime we have great turnout and getting people involved shows people are interested in the future of our country. And that's really what this election's about, is determining the next leader and who's going to take us forward to the next generation.
Yeah, and it's a belabored point. I've made it several times on the show, but you touched on it. America isn't really feared in the world anymore. And like I said, I've made this point a ton, so I won't dwell on it long. But, I mean, all the international conflicts that have happened while Biden's been president.
Take a look at it.
Yeah.
Look at what happened 3 days ago, right? We lost 3 American servicemen and 30 or 40 injured, and we're still thinking about how to make a response? What's to think about? Let's hold these people responsible. Why don't we have decisive leadership in the Oval Office now that already had the plan and just had to say go? Not think about it and figure it out for 4 days. That's the weakness that the American people, I think, are tired of right now.
Yeah. So, Coint, that reminds me of something I watched yesterday. I started watching this show yesterday called The West Wing. You might have heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm on season 1, and there's I think it's the second or third episode where President Bartlett makes the decision to bomb a couple bases because they attacked an airplane.
There's no tougher decision, right? I mean, there's no tougher decision and that president in that show is from New Hampshire, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Josiah Bartlett. So, I mean, every president will tell you, I think, everyone that I've had the privilege of meeting and talking to will tell you there's no more difficult decision than sending our military in harm's way. But you know what's the easiest decision? The decision to defend our country and to defend our servicemen. It's one thing taking an offensive action, but right now I want to see decisive action against our enemies so we're respected. And I've said it before pretty recently, actually, that Putin would not have dared cross that line. Hamas would know not to mess with our trusted ally in Israel if we had somebody else in the Oval Office right now. And that goes back to feared by your enemies and loved by your friends.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, Hamas and Israel, Ukraine and Russia, soon to be Taiwan and China. I think that's upcoming really soon, in my opinion. And obviously we have the withdrawal in Afghanistan that killed more men and women. And then Biden checked his watch at their coming home when they came home.
Oh, yeah, that was a travesty.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the biggest issue, people, there's surveys and polls and what's the most important issue, we've all taken them. And sometimes I'll talk about inflation when I get those pollsters. But what I care about most is defending our country. It's loyalty to our country first, putting America before every other interest, right? It's not about what party you're in or exactly what your politics are. I think every American agrees that you live here because you're free and because of the protections we have. And when we stop protecting ourselves, that's when we're going to stop being free.
Yeah, and one thing I thought about when the election was happening was I was curious what some of these other candidates would have done with this rocky world climate, such as Nikki Haley. Personally, I think she's a bit of a war hawk. I feel like if some of the stuff happened when she was president, we'd be involved in a lot more conflicts.
There's been speculation about exactly how she would respond. So she has some solid foreign policy experience, right? She's met some of these leaders. She can say how tough they are. But when push comes to shove, is she going to be loyal to her board members and her employer?
Yeah.
Which is a big employer in our state, right? And we have big defense contractors here, including BAE. We have a gubernatorial candidate who's on the board of BAE still, I believe. So we have significant interests in New Hampshire in the defense industry. But we don't have the defense industry to make war. We have the defense industry to keep peace, right? Peace through strength. And right now, America is not quite as strong as I think she could be.
Yeah, and one more candidate that I thought was really interesting was, well, two more, I guess, Dean Phillips. Because his candidacy kind of came out of nowhere. Like one day he was just, hey, I signed up to run in New Hampshire. And he's kind of the replacement for Kennedy in the primary, because Kennedy decided to run as an independent, and now there's talks of him joining the Libertarian Party. I don't know if you heard that.
So was he really getting Dean Phillips votes, or was he getting anti-Biden votes, or anti-Kamala Harris votes?
That's a good point, yeah.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know Dean Phillips well. Met him once. Seems to be a good guy. Know a little bit about what he's done. Don't know the man, but I think those votes, that percentage that he got, shows you how weak the Biden-Harris candidacy is as a ticket, right? People are worried about the number two, right? I read, I think yesterday, there's a 1 in 3 chance that Biden doesn't make it through a second term, just statistically, right? I'd say on a given day, there's about a 50-50 chance that he makes it safely off stage.
Yeah.
Let alone, through a whole nother term. So where does that leave us, right? That leaves us with President Kamala Harris.
I actually heard a theory that Michelle Obama might take his place as the nominee.
A last-minute substitution.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Huh. That would be interesting. It'd be Hillary Clinton all over again.
Probably,
Kinda.
yeah. And on Wandering Off Stage, I don't know if you've ever heard of Shane Gillis. He's a comedian, but he made a joke that anytime Biden finishes a speech, it's like the Roomba vacuums, just kind of floating around, not knowing where to go. But
oh gosh,
when you watch him up there, he doesn't know where he is. But when you watch Trump, who's a few years younger, or still around the same age, he's energetic. One person compared him to Mick Jagger.
He is full of life.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to tell you, I was surprised. I hadn't met the man in person until fairly recently. And that guy, I mean, there's no lack of charisma or urgency to lead the world or lead the country, and intelligence. I mean, he really wants to know what you have to think. You get him for a couple of minutes off camera or whatever. He genuinely wants to know what everybody in a photo line, right, the first time I met him, wants to think. And I mean, I think people really underestimate him. I think we all did in 2016.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was like 7 or 8 years old in 2016, but I remember just seeing on the TV news clips of him.
Yeah, thanks for making me feel really old.
I'm sorry about that. But so moving on from the presidential topic, some local stuff. So we'll start with you. What's going on in like local Merrimack politics?
So Merrimack politics, I mean, we are very similar to the rest of the state. We're concerned about property taxes, funding education efficiently and prudently. Water and air quality, of course, is a big issue for us. We had a bill in my committee today to ban 9 different types of products containing intentionally added PFAS. I mean, people are very concerned, I think, all over the state about PFAS and those types of chemicals being in our water, in our air. And so how do they get there, right? They get there from not only from contaminators and polluters, from industry like Saint-Gobain, but they also get there from our landfills, right? We have products that we throw away. They end up buried underground, that leaches out in the dust, in the air. So there's an effort to ban about 9 different products, everything from couches, literally couches, textile furniture, to carpets and a whole bunch of things. And so we're evaluating that carefully and to figure out if that's exactly the right way and how do we determine which products are most at risk. And we'll end up with some hard and fast steps to reduce the amount of PFAS in the environment, that's super important to Merrimack and really a lot of places in the state. There's many, many hot spots.
Yeah, so in Derry, my audience knows exactly what's going on here, but I'll give some updates. We had a school board meeting last night. Obviously, the topics of the restructuring plan were happening. For anyone who doesn't know, the basic rundown is that of our 5 elementary schools, they are definitely going to close Derry Village, so that's one. The school board wants to close South Range School as well, and build the big new school that'll cost $72 million and raise our taxes extremely. So obviously that's still a major topic. It'll be on the ballot in March as a warrant article, along with 2 new seats up for school board. By the way, I'm going to make an endorsement for school board. If you live in Derry and if you're a registered voter, I am endorsing Wilbert Danger. Vote for that guy. He's amazing. Great guy. I was there when he signed up. So we got that. The school board election and town council elections coming up. But the school board is just continuing to not listen, which is what they usually do. In fact, at last night's meeting, I noticed something was off about one of the members of the school board. And I just kind of kept it in the back of my mind. And then later that night, as I was trying to fall asleep, I was on my phone. And I saw a tweet that member of the school board made. And I'm going to bleep it out, something along the lines of, "I'm drunk and I'm effing proud of it. F all you."
Oh, classy.
Oh, yeah. And I noticed something was off about him at the meeting, so I'm guessing he was drunk during the school board meeting while there were children there giving a presentation about a humanitarian project they were working on. So not only are they just not listening to the public now, it just seems that they don't care about how they are viewed themselves anymore. We had a member that was drunk at a meeting with children.
Disrespectful.
Yeah.
Right, disrespectful of the audience, of the people, and of the office that you were elected to serve in.
Yeah.
For sure. And they're considering major changes that are going to cause major tax raises. And if we better get some tax cuts passed, then so there's some relief, right? We've got a couple of consumer tax packages. I filed one. I'm prime sponsor on a meals tax reduction.
Good.
And I'm co-sponsor on another one with both meals and rentals and rooms and communications tax. That's led by Joe Sweeney.
Joe's been on.
Yep. Oh, I'm sure he has. I'm sure he's a great guest. So, we wanted to pass some of those taxes to get money back in the pockets. We always get this pushback. Okay, well, what about our property taxes? What about our property taxes? Well, do you think it'd be easier to pay your property taxes if it didn't cost quite so much just to eat out or register your car or things like that?
Yeah. So, and in what's going on in Merrimack, I think we had something a little similar with our transfer station. I don't remember exactly what, but I know it caused somewhat of a big stir. So
we've had our transfer station for quite some time.
Yeah.
And pretty successful, mixed stream recycling, and we closed our actual landfill where they buried the trash years ago.
Yeah, we closed ours. It's on, if you go down, I forget the name of the road, Kendall Pond Road, or I think it is, but there's this big grassy hill that looks like there's just nothing there, but that's where our original landfill was.
Yeah, it's still one of the best places to meet voters, though.
Yeah. Our current transfer station is where all the sine waves happen, usually. Yep. Either that or the big intersection where Broadway and Crystal Ave meet. But as I've said before, local politics is by far the most important politics. It's the one, if you had to choose any type of government or political stuff to follow, local's by far most important. But next up is state politics. So you're a state rep. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on at the State House. So what's going on there?
Big day this Thursday, February 1st. I don't know when you air this, but when do you air this?
This will come out the 2nd. So,
Oh, okay.
So for
All
you,
right.
this will be yesterday.
So yesterday, for everybody, we will have had a long, contentious day talking about everything from constitutional amendments to enshrine abortion rights to reconsidering a bill that we already acted on and passed successfully that had to do with the determination of biological sex for sports teams and schools and lavatories and things like that. So a whole host of bills coming up, everything from use of unmarked police vehicles, and it's going to be a busy, busy day.
I'm on LIAC. I've mentioned that on the show before, and that unmarked police vehicle bill, that's actually on the list of bills that we're going to talk about. So what's some information on that for the audience?
Well, it's pretty split on that from what I hear. I couldn't predict how that vote's going to go. So I don't know. That's one to watch. And I'm still learning about it a little bit myself, right? There's an argument on both sides. Should people know where the police are in case they need to go get them? Or are unmarked stealth cars too sneaky? And is that a liberty violation? So there's arguments on both sides, right? Should a senior officer in a police department, say the chief or a captain who drives an unmarked car home all the time, should they not be able to make a traffic stop if they see some egregious violation just because their car happens to be a stealth car, right? Should they be prohibited from doing essentially their job just because? So there's arguments on both sides, and I think it'll be an interesting debate. Actually, Representative Stone, who sits next to me, will be discussing that and debating it on the floor tomorrow. So I'm interested to hear some of that debate.
I'll be watching.
Yeah.
So I know one of the bills that you are championing, and it's one of the most interesting bills that will be discussed tomorrow, is your flag bill.
Oh, it's coming up. Yeah, we don't have a hearing. I think we do have a hearing for it, maybe in a week or two. It's not on the docket for a vote yet. It has to go through the public hearing process in ED&A. But it has been a talker. Everybody has an opinion on how we should or shouldn't redesign our flag. And so my bill is pretty simple. Add the state motto, live free or die, to the bottom of the flag. And here's what it looks like, too. I don't know if you can see that or not there, if you guys can catch that. There's two options here, right? The white or the gold, but I think we prefer the gold to match the laurel leaves. Live free or die, nice and simple. And here's why. New Hampshire is a really unique state, but we don't have a very unique flag. Here's like 20 some other flags that all look an awful lot like New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Right? If anybody ever watches one of my favorite old sitcom shows, The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon always does fun with flags. He's got a show within a show. And they're always talking about that. And that's not why I wanted to file this bill. I wanted to file this bill because live free or die is really part of our culture. Right? General Stark said it, live free or die, death is not the greatest of evils. It's very historic. And I'm the guy that put it on the quarter, along with a couple other reps. I was the prime sponsor in 1999 that put live free or die on our state New Hampshire quarter. And I think it's high time it goes on our flag, and then we get a little bit of a distinction. But I will tell you this, I'll just elaborate on a little bit more. There have been dozens, these are some of them, there have been dozens of suggestions on how to completely redesign it. So I think the question before the committee is going to be complete redesign or simple addition of the motto, or none of the above. We'll see. It's going to be fun to watch. If you have an opinion, anybody watching, if you like live free or die, or you think we should have a contest, I don't particularly support that. I think there's such a thing as too many cooks. But Maine did it. Minnesota, Utah, they've all redesigned their flags. I think Michigan has a new flag coming up too.
Mississippi just got a new
Mississippi, maybe I've got the M states wrong. Thanks. But several states have redesigned their flags recently. But if you have an opinion, email me, email your rep, or show up at the hearing.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting bill. I'm honestly surprised it hasn't come up in the past, that someone else hasn't tried to.
Oh, it has. About 6 or 7 times, actually. Believe it or not.
That doesn't surprise me. But
Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think it's a great idea personally. Obviously, I don't get a vote up there. But yeah, I'm interested to see if that happens. So
Yeah, it's simple enough. And we've structured it so it's fiscally neutral for the most part. 5-year roll-in, so we use up existing flags. But, it's one of the more fun bills, right? I think the tax bills are more important. Some of the other bills to limit regulation and reduce the size of government, those are more, frankly, a little bit more important. But culturally, this one certainly has gotten a lot of attention.
I agree. So I know you had another bill regarding the E-Verify system, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. We just had the hearing for that, actually. We'll see. The committee hasn't decided yet. So E-Verify augments the eligibility verification for a prospective employee. So in my bill would require employers who have 25 or more employees to use the free E-Verify system to get better, more accurate data. And what it essentially does is it levels the playing field. So you have people who are eligible, legally eligible to be employed, competing against those who have not followed the proper process to be eligible for employment in the United States and in New Hampshire. So when those two groups compete, it drives wages down, right? And E-Verify makes it easy for an employer to know this employee is legal, I can employ them properly, they have a social security number, and it's even possible to bring them on board while they're getting a social security number. Most people don't realize it only takes about 5 to 7 days to actually get a social security number. So it's not a big delay, it doesn't hamper, but it does make it a lot more accurate. And you know what? We should protect those who go about it the right way. We should protect our employers too.
Yeah, I think that's a interesting bill. Yeah. Again, I'm going to watch it, see what happens. One more thing I wanted to ask. So I think this is a topic that came up last year with the release of the movie The Sound of Freedom. Watch it, by the way, if you haven't. What is the State House doing this year, now that the, I guess, bill filing period is back, about human trafficking in the state of New Hampshire? So, I know there's a few.
Yeah, so actually E-Verify would help that, right?
Yeah.
It would help identify.
That's what reminded me.
Yeah, it would help identify. And so the bill filing period ended, and all the bills now have been introduced. They're in committee. They're having their public hearings, and soon enough, March 15th-ish, will be crossover. All the House bills will move over to the Senate, and the Senate bills will come to the House. But it's not too late to amend a bill. There is a pretty significant effort in the state to watch for human trafficking and educate people in the hospitality industries. So, restaurant and lodging, places where you can see signs of human trafficking. So there's big efforts by those associations to educate their employees how to recognize that and how to discreetly offer help to those people they think might be victims of it.
Yeah, I know the town of Derry recently passed ordinances specifically for massage parlors, tanning salons, specifically for places like those to make sure it wouldn't happen there, because those are other places that it happens quite a bit.
Huh. Interesting. We'll have to watch out for that and see if there's any state legislation. There's been quite a few efforts to reduce the number of licenses and things like that in our state.
I know State Representative Jody Nelson was at the town council when they approved that, and she spoke in favor of it. It passed unanimously 7-0 on the town council, so that was good. Are there any other bills that are about human trafficking this year?
Good question. I don't know. I'd have to look. We had about 1,000 bills in, or
that's
900
true.
Bills or so in.
This year is it's the record for most in a second year, correct?
I did hear that from the clerk. Yep. So we, legislators will legislate, and sometimes fewer laws are better.
Yeah. Another thing I'll ask before we end, and this happened kind of in between season 3 and 4, so I didn't really get to talk about it on the show, but I wanted to. We had that bill earlier this month about transgender surgeries, and there was obviously that moment where Representative Jonah Wheeler went up and spoke in favor of the Republican view, much to the anger of many Democrats, and he was basically harassed out of the State House. They had to have state police follow him, so you were probably in the room, so what did you see?
It was a courageous move. He got up and spoke to his principals, and then his colleagues heckled him, confronted him in the anteroom, and many of his colleagues from the other side of the aisle, from the Republican side, congratulated him for being honest, true to his beliefs. And really, it was a shame that his own party treated him as poorly as they did. He's on the right side of that issue. right? There are two genders. You can't change your gender, right? You're genetically encoded by hormones, chromosomes, right? I don't care how people want to live their life, how they look or dress. I don't think anyone would stand in the way of someone dressing the way they feel they want to dress, or having whatever surgery they want if they're an adult, right? The issue here was young kids being given life-altering surgery, irreversible surgery, and that's what he spoke for.
And I see it at Pinkerton. There's several kids, including some that have changed their mind midway through, that have had it happen. So it's real. It's not fake like a lot of Democrats say it is.
And they need the support,
Yeah.
right? They need the support of the healthcare system, of their parents. Parents need to be allowed to parent and get those individuals, kids or not kids, young adults, whoever they are, whatever type of health services are most appropriate, whether it's a mental health service or physical health services, whatever it is. I mean, the government shouldn't be involved in it, but we do have a duty to protect the youngest and most vulnerable people, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually called Representative Wheeler to talk to him about it. And
Oh, great.
I admire him a lot. I don't agree with him on much of anything, but he's just one of those young people, similar to me, that's out there making change. And I really admire that. So we are just about out of time, so feel free to give any closing statement you might want to give.
Well, the more people that get involved, the better. Watch this show, listen to what Anthony has to say, get out there and vote, bring your neighbors with you, run for office, run for local office, and stand for what you believe, right? I mean, that's what makes our state so great, right? We are the live free or die state for a reason.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll have it on our flag.
Hopefully, yeah. Thanks for the chance to promote that, and thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you for coming on. And before we end, this will be coming out this Friday. So if you are a registered voter, or if your parents are registered voters, make sure that they go to the school deliberative session. It'll be held at West Runningbrook Middle School on February 3rd at 10 a.m. That's where you get the opportunity to see the warrant articles, present any amendments you might want to make. I know there's some people trying to add a warrant article to stop everything the school board's doing, so that's going to be interesting to see if that ends up getting on. I know there was a petition with nearly 1,000 people to have that happen. So, yeah, hopefully we can send a good message to the school board and the rest of the people in Derry and the rest of the people in the state of New Hampshire. So, we'll see. I'm Anthony Henry. This has been America's Ass. Thank you for watching.